Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shuklam Brahma Vichara Paramam Adyam Jagad Vyapini Veena Pustakadarini Abhayadam Jagyantakarapaham Haste Sphatikamalikam Cha Dadatim Padmasane Samstitam Vande Tam Parameshwarim Bhagavatim Buddhipradam Sharada. Shringakshma Brnnivase Shukhamukhamunibhi Sevyamanaangripadme Swangachaya Vidhutamritakara Suraradvahane Vaksavitri Shambhu Srinath Mukhya Maravaranikarairmodatah Pujyamane Vidyam Shuddham Cha Buddhim Kamalajadayite Satvaram Dehi Mahyam. Hari Om. We have been seeing Shri Kamalajadayitashtakam, the 8 verses of glory of Sharada Devi. The first verse we saw described who Sharada Devi is, how she is worshipped by these great munis, and how her complexion is very fair, like the whiteness of the moon, and how she is the one who is both Vidya Devi and the one who is Vak Devi. And in every verse, we see that this composer is asking to be blessed with knowledge, that highest knowledge which leads to liberation, and the chitta shuddhi, the purity of mind that is needed for knowledge. Now we saw that chitta shuddhi is needed for one to gain the desire in order to approach Guru to seek knowledge, and also the necessity to retain that knowledge, absorb that knowledge, and abide in that knowledge. Purity of mind is needed. So for all of these things, in order to have the requirements to gain this knowledge, he asks for the purity of mind. Then verse 2, we saw how Bhagwan Adi Shankaracharya Ji had come he was a manifestation of Bhagwan Shiva. Bhagwan Shiva came in this avatar form, and how he came to advance so much of our Sanatan Dharma scriptures, and then also came to establish that Sharada Devi, that Murti in Sringagiri, that Sringeri Sharada Peetham temple, he established that Murti of Saraswati Mata there. Verse 3, we saw the composer request Saraswati Mata to remove all papa. Remove all papa that had been accumulating in the mind, causing all of these agitations, and to be blessed with more and more punya. And finally, verse 4, we saw the description of everything that Saraswati Devi holds in her hands. We saw she has the grantha, the vidya, this vidya mudrakshamala. Vidya is the grantha, which represents the Veda. Then we saw she has her hand in Chinmudra. This Chinmudra represents the oneness of Jiva and Paramatma. Then she holds an Akshamala, a Sphatika-mala. This mala is a reminder for us to perform japa. And she holds an Amrita Ghata, a pot of nectar that symbolizes immortality, that symbolizes moksha. When all of these are practiced, when Swadhyaya is done, represented by the Vedas, Then that japa sadhana is done, represented by the mala. And that tattvam, that knowledge is known, represented by the chinmudra. When all three are there, then one comes to attain moksha. One comes to attain that nectar of immortality. And how do they come to gain this? They come to gain this from Saraswati Devi, who is Vidya Devi. As she is the greatest teacher to even an inferior student, they are able to learn, they are able to gain this knowledge very quickly. So he asks, please bless me so that I may gain this knowledge from you very quickly, and that you may remove all of these shadripu in my mind, all of these enemies that are creating more and more agitations in my mind. Please remove these. Anything that is obstructing me from reaching you, please remove these desires. So this we see in the first 4 verses. An earnest request by the sadhaka to be taken closer to Bhagavan, to be taken closer to knowledge, and all of the necessary requirements he's also asking for. Now we will see verse 5, and we'll see the meaning of verse 5 as well. Karma svatmochiteshu स्थिरतरधिषणाम् देहदार्ढ्यं तदर्थम् कर्म स्वात्मोचितेषु स्थिरतरधिषणाम् देहदार्ढ्यं तदर्थम् कर्म स्वात्मोचितेषु स्थिरतरधिषणाम् देहदार्ढ्यं तदर्थम् दीर्घं चायुर्यशश्च त्रिभुवनविदितम् पापमार्गाद्विरक्तिम् दीर्घं चायुर्यशश्च त्रिभुवनविदितं पापमार्गाद्विरक्तिम् दीर्घं चायुर्यशश्च त्रिभुवनविदितं पापमार्गाद्विरक्तिम् सत्सङ्गं सत्कथायाः श्रवणमपि सदा देवी दत्त्वा कृपाब्धे सत्सङ्गं सत्कथाया श्रवणमपि सदा देवी दत्त्वा कृपाब्धे सत्सङ्गं सत्कथाया श्रवणमपि सदा देवी दत्त्वा कृपाब्धे विद्यां शुद्धां च बुद्धिं कमलजदयिते सत्वरं देहि मह्यम् विद्यां शुद्धां च बुद्धिं कमलजदयिते सत्वरं देहि मह्यम् विद्यां शुद्धां च बुद्धिं कमलजदयिते सत्वरं देहि मह्यम् कर्म स्वात्मोचितेषु स्थिरतरधिषणां देहदार्ढ्यं तदर्थम् कर्म स्वात्मोचितेषु स्थिरतरधिषणां देहदार्ढ्यं तदर्थम् दीर्घं चायुर्यशश्च त्रिभुवनविदितं पापमार्गाद्विरक्तिम् दीर्घं चायुर्यशश्च त्रिभुवनविदितं पापमार्गाद्विरक्तिम् Satsangam satkataya shravanamapi sada Devi dattva krupabdhe. Satsangam satkataya shravanamapi sada Devi dattva krupabdhe. Vidyam shuddham cha buddhim kamalajadayite satvaram dehi mahyam. Vidyam shuddham cha buddhim kamalajadayite satvaram dehi mahyam. We'll see the meaning of this fifth verse. In the third verse, we saw the composer ask for all of the papa that had created agitations in the mind to all be removed, and to bless with more and more punya and the great reverence, devotion towards the Guru who will bless with this knowledge and the means by which this knowledge is reached, the means by which the goal is reached through this knowledge. So after asking for more reverence and devotion towards it, he finally comes to, in verse 5, requesting this knowledge in more depth. Because knowledge is the direct means to liberation. All of the sorrow that we experience is due to our own ignorance. Due to my ignorance that I identify myself as this body, mind, and intellect, and thus come to seek something outside of myself for fulfillment, for completeness. And this is only because of the root cause of avidya, of ignorance. This ignorance, this avidya, can only be destroyed by knowledge. Knowledge alone can remove this ignorance. No amount of karma, no amount of action that is performed will remove this ignorance, because action can only produce a finite result. And that finite result will only be provided for a limited amount of time. It is finite by nature. So it cannot remove that avidya that has been there since beginning of time. So karma alone cannot remove this ignorance, cannot take one to liberation. But the vasanas that prompt karma cannot be ignored. So thus, karma must be performed. So how should our actions be performed? Our actions should be performed with the right intention of selflessly dedicating service towards a higher altar, towards Bhagavan, such that when actions are performed, they come to purify the mind. So the right performance of karma provides chitta shuddhi, and this chitta shuddhi, this purity of mind, prepares one for receiving this knowledge. It allows one to be more available to receive the knowledge from Guru. So the first stage of our spiritual sadhana, the first stage of our life, is in preparation of the mind in order to receive this knowledge through the right performance of our action. Shastra says there are 5 types of action. The first one is nitya karma, our daily duties that must be performed. Naimittika karma, those occasional duties that we have to take up at certain periods of time. Kamya karma, those actions that are done for fulfillment of some desire. Prayashchitta karma, those actions that are done to atone for any wrong deeds. And nishiddha karma, those actions that are not to be performed, that are not to be done. Now, of these, 2 of them, nitya karma and naimitika karma, together these make niyata karma. And this niyata karma is what is to be performed, is what is to be done. This niyata karma, as one performs with the intent of selfless dedicated service, as an offering towards Bhagavan, with that nishkama bhava, then it comes to purify the mind. This karma yoga bhava we know to have 2 aspects, Ishwararpana buddhi and prasada buddhi. The performance of the action as an offering towards the Lord and acceptance of the results as prasad from Bhagavan. And over time, as our energy gets more directed towards performance of our duties, then the kamya karma should reduce with time. that those performance of any selfish desire-based actions comes to reduce when more time, more energy is given to performing the niyata karma, the nitya naimittika karma. So more actions as they are done with this selfless, dedicated service, with this nishkama bhava, then the mind gets more and more purified. Karma swat mochiteshu. May I have the conviction, may I have the right performance of my actions in this way. This is what he asks first in that first word. Then he says, Thiratara dishanam. May I have the deep conviction for this performance of my duties in this way. Only when it is our own conviction will we come to actually put in the effort to implement these changes, to change our intention behind our action. Only when it is our own conviction to take up something will we actually end up performing it, will we actually end up doing it. So if we do not feel miserable in this world of samsara, we will not come to strive for Bhagwan. We will not come to strive for this spiritual knowledge. So we must again and again remind ourselves of the misery of this worldly bondage in order to come to seek knowledge. Without this conviction to develop chitta shuddhi, to sit in satsang, to be able to gain more knowledge, to be able to practice sadhana, this knowledge is of no use. The guidance from Guru is not of use unless it is practiced by us. So it must be our own conviction, and only then will we come to implement it. Then he says, Dehadardhyam tadartham. And please bless me with this physical strength. This physical strength is needed because body is the means by which we perform sadhana. Sharira madhyam khalu dharma sadhanam. The body is the means for the performance of duties and for performance of our sadhana. So thus the body must be properly cared for so that our duties can be performed. Our highest dharma then is in taking care of this body so that I can serve Bhagwan, so that I can do my duties, my responsibilities towards society, towards my family. All of this, a healthy body is necessary. So then it is not considered to be sakama, to take care of this body to a minimum extent, not indulgence or anything above what is necessary, but only as much as necessary. It becomes our nitya karma, our duty, our responsibility to take care of the body that provides for all of the other duties to be done. And ultimately, this spiritual growth, our spiritual evolution is through our own self-effort. Patyamaushada sevacha kriyate yena rogina arogya siddhya drishthasya nanya nushtita karmana. There's a verse in Viveka Chudamani that says that the patient only recovers when they take the medicine themselves. If the doctor prescribes some medicine and the doctor himself takes it, the patient will not recover. Or if the child is the one that is ill and the parent takes the medicine, the child will not recover. So the one who is ill or the patient will only recover when they themselves take the medicine, when they themselves get the treatment. So our spiritual evolution is only possible when we ourselves put in the purushartha, put in the effort to perform sadhana, to purify the mind. It must be done by oneself. And for the seeker that puts in their own purushartha, puts in the effort to purify this mind, to perform sadhana, Bhagwan's grace is plenty upon them. Bhagwan's grace is always blessing them. But Bhagwan's grace does not replace one's own self-effort. One's own self-effort must be there, and then Bhagwan's grace will continue to provide that strength for one to be able to put in that effort. Even Bhagwan Krishna says, Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet. We must lift ourselves by ourselves because no one else can be the one to help us in that direction. We must be the ones to put in that effort. Guru can only guide us along the path. He can only show us what needs to be done. And we must be the ones to perform that sadhana. We must be the ones to walk the path. Dirgham cha ayuhu. Then he asks for a long life. Dirgham means long. This implies good health and proper maintenance of the body throughout one's life. We know that overindulgence in anything reduces one's life. So the proper living it with moderation, such that one's life can be lived for a long time. Yashah cha tribhuvana viditam, and the fame which extends across all three lokas. Now, this is not the type of worldly fame for any selfish desire, but it is the type of fame that is born out of noble deeds and with good intention to be used for the benefit of all. So this type of fame he asks for. Papa margat viraktim, and may I be disinclined towards sinful actions, towards ignoble actions. This disinclination towards the ignoble only comes from the right discrimination between what is noble and what is ignoble. Dharma versus adharma. What is to be pursued and what is not to be pursued. And this discrimination only comes from satsang. The more that we listen to the guidance of Shastra that tells us this, how to discriminate, how to make these decisions, then the more that it becomes our conviction and our mind that we come to develop that viveka buddhi. And when that viveka buddhi is strong, then one becomes naturally disinclined towards that which will not take them towards their goal. That one who gets more involved in satsang, comes to hear satsang more, they will be naturally disinclined from anything that will keep them in the world, any worldly attachments. And they'll naturally come to attach more and more towards satsang, towards sadhana, towards that which will help them reach the goal of liberation. So this comes with more exposure to satsang. So inherently, he next asks for satsangam. Please bless me with more exposure to satsang, more opportunity to be in satsang. Satsang is the association with the good, with noble. And this can be other seekers who are also seeking liberation as their goal of life. And accordingly, they come to live life according to the scriptures. They come to live life according to the Vedika values. And this is not just necessarily a pravachan upon Shastra, but it can be any good company. It can be other seekers. It can be other books. It can be Mahatmas. All of these can be satsang for us that provide us the right knowledge of discrimination that strengthen our viveka shakti. Then he says, Sat Kathayaha. Sat Kathayaha. And please, may I be blessed with more opportunity to be in Shravanam. So we heard the blessing of satsang. Satsang strengthens our viveka shakti. Binu satsanga viveka na hoi. Without this satsang, one will not come to gain that discrimination. And nothing happens without the grace of the Lord. Rama kripa binu sulabha na soi. Now, listening to the spiritual stories also provides great benefit. Also provides great benefit in how we should act. Because when we hear how Bhagavan lived, then it tells us how we should live. It inspires us with the right values by which we should live and how to handle certain situations in our life. We also see how Bhagavan handled these different situations. How Bhagavan lived by dharma and how to practice that dharma in our life. This we see in the stories and the glories of the Lord. So please may I be blessed with more opportunity to hear the stories of the Lord. And also we see how beautiful it is, divine it is to listen to the stories of the Lord. Even Sita Mata had been so distressed in that forest, Ashokavatika, After having been abducted by Ravana, sitting in Lanka by herself, she was thinking only of Bhagavan Sri Rama, and she was in this great state of distress. And as she is chanting Bhagavan Rama's name, she hears from up above the story of Bhagavan Rama and the glories being told of him. And she asks, where is this sweet sound coming from? And in front of her, Hanumanji appears. Hanumanji reveals himself as Ramaduta, the messenger of Bhagavan Sri Rama. So how much hope, how much cheer it brought to her to just listen to Bhagavan's katha. How sweet, how divine Bhagavan's katha is, that it brings this amount of hope, it brings this amount of cheerfulness just to listen to katha of Bhagavan. Sat kathayaha shravanam sada, and may I be always listening to these spiritual stories. Devi Dattva Kripabde. Oh Devi, you are an ocean of compassion. Ocean means vast, infinite compassion. And because you have this infinite compassion, please bless me with all of this. Please bless me with these things that he has asked for. So this is the 5th verse of Shri Kamalajadayitashtakam, where he especially asks for all of that is necessary for the preparation of mind in order to receive this knowledge, in order to purify the mind, and in order to grow the desire more and more for sadhana, for shravanam, in order to be more in satsang. All this we see in the 5th verse. We'll chant this verse together again. Karma swatmuchiteshu sthirataradishanam dehadadhyam tadartham dirgham chayuryashascha tribhuvana viditam papamargad viraktim satsangam satkataya shravanamapi sada devi dattva krupabdhe Vidyam shuddham cha buddhim kamalajadayite satvaram dehi mahyam. Vidyam shuddham cha buddhim kamalajadayite satvaram dehi mahyam. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.